learn from you and have this information. So hello, Marshall County. This is Andrew, and he's going to be speaking. We're right here in the Republican Women's Meeting this morning, and Marshall County, and we're going to hear from Andrew, who is our Administrator of Elections. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. So Janet just asked about new voting machines. That's a very hot button topic right now. I would say that given what we've seen through the legislature this year, I feel pretty good about the direction that we're heading in, and I do think that we will be seeing new machines for counties like ours that are still using the DREs to have some type of paper backup on our machines, which is something that a lot of people have wanted for some time now. Now, of course, the question is, when will we get them? That's kind of an open-ended question still. I definitely couldn't give a definitive answer, and I know a source of frustration over the years. Nothing happens as quickly as we want it to happen. It may be a situation. I would not anticipate having new machines for this cycle, just because of the time that it takes and the implementation, and not only that, the training involved with it too, because none of us would want something that even us that are facilitating the elections are not familiar enough with to have a firm grasp on how to operate it. So obviously there's time involved with all of that. But I do, not going too far out on a limb, I would say by 2024, I think we'll see. I think we'll have some type of new, maybe not a totally new machine for us, but maybe an add-on type element to the machines that we currently use. That way, we do have that paper backup for verification. And, of course, I don't want to get the cart before the horse. Like I said, it's still running through the legislature. They still have to do that. Obviously funding is a primary concern for all involved. And, I would always advocate for for as little of a burden to be put on the county as possibly can, just given the financial situation, so hopefully that can be achieved, and we see that. And I think we're going in a good direction with that, just going off of everything that I've been seeing and reading. So definitely not a for sure definitive, solution at this point, but I think we are getting close. So that's probably a long answer to say I don't have a definitive answer, but that gives you at least some insight into where things are right now. And I feel good. I know especially over the last 2 years, I've gotten a lot of feedback, and I don't ever want to say anything to cast any doubt over our current equipment, because I think our current equipment does the job it needs to do, and I've never, working with them as long as I have, which over 10 years at this point, and I've never seen the first indication to think that there is any type of any type of safety issue to where you would question it or doubt the results that we give. So I always want to throw that in there, just so there's no anyone question it or to cast any doubts over anything. I do like to put that in there, but I obviously, from hearing people over the last couple of years, having the paper backup is obviously something that a lot of people would like to see, and I certainly wouldn't mind seeing it either, just for the public. You never want to have any doubt. And regardless of if I have any personal doubts, obviously there's other people out in the community that do, and to be able to, for them to cast their vote without any type of, any type of thinking that it's not 100% accurate. If we can do whatever we can do to get that. That's what we strive for.
Is that the major difference in functionality then? Is it just it creates a paper, essentially receipt per se, or?
Right, well, not necessarily a receipt, but basically, if we stay with our current vendor, which is Microvote, which Microvote is the biggest vendor in Tennessee currently. So what they've done is they've created like a hybrid system. You have an electronic voting machine, but also a paper printer that basically it adds on to the electronic machine. So whenever you hit the buttons for whoever you want to vote for, you go through the process of doing the cast vote. And what that does is it prints a receipt, basically,
Yes.
that you see. You do not take it with you. Obviously, we keep it on file.
Just confirmation.
But it's that paper confirmation that obviously, if anything, any type of election contested election or that sort of thing, where it had to do any type of recount, you do have that paper verification that you would recount. So having that, and that's voter verifiable. So if there was a question with, if it was accurate or not, they would see it. The voter would see it themselves, and then at that point they would be able to, correct it or call whoever necessary to say this isn't correct, or and a lot of times it may be just the issue of hitting the wrong button, and you see that, and then you're able to go back and correct whatever mistake you may have made. So, and I like it. Just speaking to that, there's a lot of systems out there. Obviously, there's not just one. I like the hybrid system because regardless of what anyone else says about them, like with paper ballots, there's always going to be some ambiguity there with determining a voter's intent. If it's a bubble sheet, they're supposed to bubble it in. Well, some of them may not bubble it in. They may partially bubble it in. They may put a check mark through it or put an X through it. Does the X mean that that's who you wanted? Does the X mean it isn't who you wanted? That's why, I've seen a lot of the different systems, and then also too with like the ballot marking system where you print out a paper ballot, then you feed it into a tabulator. That always requires the voter, having possession of that ballot and then putting it into a scanner. So, on the occasion that a voter may not follow instructions, and instead of feeding it into the scanner, they may set it in their pocket, so that leads, and I'm sure that has happened over time. So, I mean, that's just another situation that I think of. So you have to take all that into account whenever you're looking at all these different systems. And then, of course, always cost is always a consideration with any of these as well. So.
And then the other question I had, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
This is huge, especially for the voters and people who think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Once that vote's cast in the machine, where does it go? Is it a data blast, and is that maintained within the state, or where are the servers?
No, it stays located. It stays centrally located to our office. Okay. And there's no type of internet. There's no type of right. Yeah, and see, we have to have what's called a standalone system to where there's no internet connection to it. Where our tabulation system, it's done on a computer, and like we have a computer that we do our tabulations on. And people automatically, you just see a computer, you think, well, it's connected to the internet. Well, it's not. I mean, it's a computer, yes, but it's not connected to the internet.
Exactly why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's not connected to the internet in any way, shape, or form. So there's no way for an outsider to be able to get into that when there's no connection.
Sure.
It's basically a glorified calculator. But
I was trying to run Spotify on a voting machine. It wouldn't let me.
Right. So yeah, and that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it because you hear a lot of the things out there, and it's just like and I can't speak for what goes other places. I can only speak for Marshall County, but when I see ours, and I'm like, if everybody, I've always said if everybody did it the way we did it, we wouldn't have many of the issues that we have these days. So that's kind of been my talking point for the last 2.5 years now.
Well, Andrew, I have a question.
All right.
That I've had given to me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that since we're not connected to the internet, during the time of voting.
Sure.
But then we send the results to
Mm-hmm.
Nashville. Is that not done on the internet?
You mean like on
From
election
our
night?
From your office.
Sure,
I
sure.
say our.
Yeah.
From your office to Nashville.
Well, we have what's called a VPN set up on election night, which is a virtual private network. And so basically what that does is we go through there to upload our election results. So So they're getting it in real time. And of course, everybody wants, everybody wants their results as quickly as they can possibly get them, obviously. We all do. So we're able to do that and update it in real time as the results are coming in, like from the different precincts and that sort of thing.
But there's no way someone can intercept that vote from Marshall County
No.
up to Nashville, and that's what people are
Well,
concerned about.
and that's the other thing too that people need to always remember. Those results that are reported on the Secretary of State's website on election night, and I'm sure it says it on there, that is unofficial election results. So regardless of what that website says, we have each of the 95 counties, we have our hard data that we then, post-election in the consolidation process, we'll go through and verify all that. So I always remind people that is unofficial.
So even if it was intercepted, because VPNs are good, but they're not 100%, but even if it was intercepted, those numbers are unofficial.
Sure.
And then will be confirmed through paperwork and turned into
Absolutely.
official,
Yeah.
which will be through hard copy process, paper process.
Through the election certification process.
Right, which will go through.
Place in the, weeks.
But that will include
post-election.
paperwork,
Oh,
not
absolutely.
reliance on just that one. So even if it was hacked,
Right.
which is unlikely,
Right.
but even if it was on that
And
particular
not
aspect.
And not even just,
Or just human error.
Yeah,
Human error, technical, you're right.
Which happens.
Technical error, human error,
Which we try, and the state is
cetera.
very, very proactive about that, and they'll on election night, we'll go through a process. Somebody from the state coordinator's office will even call us and we'll go line by line through our election results.
Oh, wow.
To make sure
That's good to know.
that each one, this is an accurate number before, we kind of sign off on them on election night saying these are the numbers that we have.
Great.
Yeah, ask a question. I'm hearing two different things, so I just want to confirm what I'm hearing, and I came into the conversation late, of course. You said there's no way that the computers are on the internet, but then you say that there's VPN. If
Well,
it's a
that's
VPN,
not.
then
Well, it's a
on the
different.
internet.
It's different. I'm sending from my workstation computer.
Not the voting
our
machines.
Tabulation system.
Okay, so the direct vote machines that we vote on are not connected to the
No,
internet?
no
Are they
way,
co-
shape, or
Are
form.
they connected to any Wi-Fi?
No, none
at
whatsoever.
all? None, okay,
None.
so that's good news.
Yes.
Is there any backup paperwork, other than once you download them into a hard drive or whatever, thumb drive onto your computer, is there
Mm-hmm.
any backup to say that, verify a vote? So
Oh
if I
yeah.
come in-
Well, the ones that we print out on whenever we finish voting on election day, we print out that after 7 o'clock, polls close, whatever. We print out a hard copy of each machine's vote tally.
Can I come to you and say, I want to verify my vote was recorded properly? How could I do that?
You mean like you as an individual?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a receipt to give you.
That's what
sort of
I'm
thing.
asking you for.
Right.
That's
He
what
was
I
talking
want.
about that earlier, about the
Right.
changes that might be coming so that we can
And
have.
other things coming down the pipe?
Well, I don't know of anything. You want to have a receipt in your hand that says something. I don't know of any system that
Yeah, I
does
don't think
that.
any of them do that.
Because the thing of it is, and I get what you're saying, you want that verification for yourself.
If it prints
But
it
the
out-
verification, we have to have that paper. If we don't have the paper to verify post-election, well, it doesn't do us any good if the voters are holding on to it and not us
No.
in the.
But what I'm saying is, even if it was just a piece of paper that showed on the machine that you can't take it, but it shows
Right.
your
That's-
vote, you voted this way, and you go, that's perfect.
That's what we're.
That's what he was
we're
talking
going
about
for.
changing.
That's perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I do have a question about your VPN. That's how you're transferring the votes from your office to Nashville, right?
Just reporting them on the night of election.
It's just
Yeah.
And that's-
unofficial results on election
Yeah,
night.
banks use VPNs too, and a lot of banks have been hacked. So we know that VPNs.
Well, that's why I said,
There is no
that's
secure
why
system in the world. There's
unofficial.
none.
That's why it is always, you always want to make sure it is
Yeah.
unofficial.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we do weeks worth of consolidation post-election to verify
That's
everything.
You have a
Ready.
tape that shows what the machine voted.
Absolutely.
You have that. You
Yes.
have that hard copy.
Right.
You're also sending that email, so you have two ways to verify.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
separate number. I would suggest that you all work the elections. That way you know and see how the process is
Oh,
done.
absolutely.
I worked for 15 years in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and there is no internet connected to those machines, and you know, there's a lot of stuff going around saying different, but if you've actually
Absolutely.
worked the election, we have really good elections
Can
in
you
Tennessee.
verify the machines don't even have capability to get on the internet?
They do
No
not.
no modem or anything?
That's good. Oh, for sure. Oh, there is one thing, I did have a couple things I did want to talk about today, and you know, I'll be fine to answer any more questions too. Of course, our next election is August, and I've got pamphlets that I'll leave with whoever has got dates, not just for August, but for November as well. One thing I wanted to just kind of bring everyone's attention to as far as August goes. This August election cycle will be the longest ballot that we have in the state of Tennessee. So we, of course, I think most everybody, I'm sure probably everybody in the room, but probably anybody who would watch this video is probably already aware we'll have a state and federal primary. We'll have a county general election. If you live inside the Lewisburg or Chapel Hill municipality, we'll have a city election as well. Where people may not be aware of, and I always want to draw people's attention to it, we'll also have judicial retention questions on the ballot. So, and there will be several of them, and we always get asked about this every time, and I want to avoid it if at all possible. People will come in to vote the day, you know, early voting, election day, whatever the case may be, and they'll see all these judicial retention questions, and then they'll want to ask us who these people are. Well, First of all, there's a lot of them that I don't even, I mean, I may not even know who they are either, you know, obviously. Even if I did, you know, being in the position I'm in, I can't really give you information on candidates that are on the ballot. So I always want to encourage people, you know, do your research ahead of time, and especially knowing that these judicial retention questions are going to be on there. Whatever resources you can find to find information on these people, you know, if you are inclined to vote or not vote for these people, you know, the sample ballots, everything, they'll be posted on the Secretary of State's website, on our local website. So those will be there. And, you know, you'll have time beforehand to do your own research on those. And I would always encourage you to do that.
Quick question, and I'm not sure of this. I've posted them on our website, but are the constitutional amendments to the state of Tennessee Constitution, are those in August or November?
I believe they'll be in November.
Okay, so that's not part of the August ballot. That's part of the November
I've not
ballot.
gotten any type of.
Okay, because I'm actually not clear on that.
Right.
I posted
I'm not-
what they're proposing to
Right.
make sure people have access to be aware of it, but
Sure.
I wasn't even sure when they were going to be voted on.
It's my understanding they'll be on November.
Okay.
I've not seen anything that said it's going to be on August to this.
Okay.
So
Well, thank
that's
you.
probably my best answer to that. You know, I don't want to speak out of turn on that.
So to your knowledge at this point,
Yes.
it's November. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Are there booklets sent out to residents with information on each candidate or each,
No.
or is it available to go pick up in the elections office? Just
Well, no, we don't. We do not distribute any information as far as particular candidates. You know, I mean, that's really not what, you know, that's not what our function is. Our function is to facilitate the elections, and we do that in a nonpartisan way. So, you know, we don't. I mean, some states may. I've heard people move from other states that say that I think.
it's like a sample ballot?
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing?
and we do have a sample ballot, like for August. Now, of course, we won't have it yet. Obviously, there's some things that have to be finalized first, but yeah, come closer to election time, we'll have sample ballots. So you'll have the names available to you, and then of course, I mean, you know, I guess it would be just up to the voter to you know, try and find information out on those candidates, you know, whatever the case may be. So, and that's another thing too. Obviously, with the local elections going on in August, it's always important. I always encourage people, you know, look up your information. You can go on the Secretary of State's website now, look up your personal information. That way, you know, for like county commission races, you know what district you're in. If you're inside the city, you would know, you know, what municipality, what ward. If you're inside Lewisburg, that sort of thing. So you know what, you know, because whenever you see the sample ballot, like on our website, it'll have all the offices. So of course we have 9 commission districts, so there'll be 9. But you know, particular to you, you know, you'll only be voting in one of those races. So you know, I always encourage you, you know, know where your jurisdiction is and who you would be voting on and that sort of thing. So the more people do that ahead of time, the better off we all are. Because you know, I'm talking about how long the ballot is. I've seen them before, the last cycle with this one, people will be there just standing in the voting machine for, 10 minutes or possibly longer, which obviously that makes our lines back up. And then I don't think any individual person wants to be, I don't think they want it to take that long, them just going through and casting their ballot. So the more information we have ahead of time, the better off we are for everybody, yourself, the voter, and for, the other voters, and, keeping the line moving best we can, because that's what we strive for. I'd say the majority of people that come in to vote, they want to make it as easy and as quick as they possibly can, and we want to try to facilitate that. So, that just works out for the better for everybody. So,
Any other questions? Well, I'll tell you
Well,
what,
Andrew-
Andrew, you just filled us up with all kinds of
Miss Janet,
information.
I have one more, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't
Okay, is it
mind.
okay? All right, so it's been a busy couple months here for Marshall County Republicans. We had, as you know, because I came in to visit with you, that we had a poll watching training class. We had two, and part of that is, I said this in our meetings, that this was not because we know Andrew runs a tight ship, and we know our election commissioners and so forth. So it was not because we were concerned of anything, scandalous or nefarious going on. It was simply to do our role as, to protect against human error, technological error. And after the things we saw in Williamson County, it just reminded us that much more that these things do occur. And as I've said, my husband used to be a computer programmer. Hey, he makes mistakes. Computer programmers make mistakes. So it's just to be there, just to be on a safeguard. And you had mentioned to make sure, and the people teaching the class did go over this, to make sure that they knew that to not talk with workers unless there was just no one there and being friendly chit-chat, and then to not talk also with the voters. And especially in a small town, everybody knows people, and so that's particularly tricky. So, but I did make sure and pass all that aspect of along. And then also, once they were trained here, they could volunteer in other counties, Williamson, Davidson. Do you have anything to add? This is because people were very interested in election integrity and wanted to play their own, play their role as citizens and volunteers and workers, and here and in other counties. So those are some of the things that you made sure to mention, and I made sure to mention. Do you have anything that you'd like to mention, or?
well, of course, I wasn't here for the class, so
Well,
I
sure.
can't speak, first-hand knowledge.
Just anything to address people who might be interested in being a poll worker, as has been mentioned, or being a poll watcher, and just those types of
That
things.
was the one thing, and I think I did mention that to you, was, I mean, poll watchers are fine. I mean, transparency is a top priority.
It is important here in
If
Tennessee.
it's not, then that means, that just leads people to wonder. So,
Yes, it sure does.
Transparency is always going to be, a paramount issue for us. So I would never discourage that. But I would encourage, if you do have that interest, hey, come talk to me. Instead of being a poll watcher, hey, we can put you to work. We can probably find a spot for you. 'Cause
And
we're
that's actually
always looking.
a poll worker. It's actually paid.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you want, a poll worker, of course, you'd be there all day, but yeah, you would actually be getting paid to be there. And I think you probably would gain more knowledge of the process of just, the entire process, being a poll worker versus just being a poll watcher. So, I mean, I honestly think if you really wanted that more intimate knowledge of the process, I think, being a poll worker is probably the best way you could get it. So,
All right.
Now, of course, I mean, we serve in a nonpartisan manner, obviously.
Excellent.
So, there are certain requirements that you have to meet. And of course, you have to have the availability of being at the poll site, the entire day. So, as long as you meet those, no, we're always looking, I know most people that whenever you go and vote at a polling site, over the years, it's gotten a little bit better, but, a lot of people have the memories of going to the poll site. And because I remember when I was young, going with my parents to vote, and just the age demographic of poll workers was, we weren't working with a young, diverse demographic as far as age goes. It was usually retirees, and not just retirees, but even a more elderly level of retiree. So obviously, the more young people we can get involved, I think we're better for it. And not to say that we're wanting to kick them out, because we've got plenty that are on up in age that still work for us that do a fantastic job, and we could not do it without them. And we're always thankful for those people. And as long as they can still do their function at a level that, you know, we expect, then we're more than happy to keep those people, obviously. But yeah, if we can supplement with some younger people, and especially some people that are, you know, curious about how the process goes, I think we're all the better for it, and we're certainly welcoming for that. So that's just my that's a little PSA to maybe try to drum up some new poll workers.
But you do have to be 18 to be a poll worker?
Well, Tennessee actually passed it to where you can be 16.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
And I haven't had any. I did kind of, you know, like the guidance counselors, and because you want to be careful with that. You know, I ain't just gonna go to the high school and blast posters everywhere.
Right.
Hey, if you're 16, come work. You know.
Yeah, but we have a lot of homeschoolers.
We do have a lot of homeschoolers, so and those would be ones that are more
The
prone to.
homeschoolers don't want to post.
But yeah, we definitely, you know, if we had one that expressed interest to us, I mean, we would certainly be welcoming
That's
to
good
those.
information.
You know, if they really had a civic, they were more civically minded and really wanted to, you know, had future aspirations of being involved in some level of government. I think that would be a great learning tool for them as well.
That's very interesting. Thank you.
But that's just I haven't had any reach out to me yet, but you know, we're certainly
Well, you may after this.
we may.
And they get paid too.
They get paid too. Yes, they're not doing it on a volunteer basis. They get a paycheck after it's
Okay,
over. So
great.
that's always nice. We always, you know, you always a little added incentive. They're not going to get rich or anything. But hey, to a 16-year-old getting a $120 check, I mean,
Yes.
that's pretty nice just for one day's worth
We
of
will
work.
get
So.
that message out.
So that's just that's definitely something to keep in mind. But yeah, we're always looking for more, so they can always reach out to us. And of course, our information's out there for everybody, whether it's, you know, on our website or and actually the Secretary of State, actually they can register online through the Secretary of State now to volunteer to be a poll worker as well. So
Just
they
one
have,
more question.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
when you said the $120,
Uh-huh.
because I do video, is that $120 per?
Yeah, just for the day.
Oh,
You're
$120
right.
per day.
But now, of course, that's Marshall
That's just-
County's
yeah, I was
rate.
gonna say.
Oh, that's Marshall County. Oh,
Right.
okay.
Now, when you
Different
go up,
counties.
I have no idea what everybody else pays,
Okay.
but I would say Davidson, Williamson, Rutherford. I would almost bet
Okay,
that
we'll
theirs is
have
probably
to research
And
that.
higher.
it's a long day, it's not.
It is a long
it's not-
day.
It's a long
It's
day.
right,
Long
right.
Prior to
Right.
7 a.m. I think we used to be
Six.
there at 6:15.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh.
And then we
It's a
would be
long
there
day.
till
Till
after
like
7.
Yeah.
because you
Sure.
They
Closed at
close.
7 and then
Yeah.
wrapping stuff up.
And that's what, and I don't know, I know probably with the bigger jurisdictions, they probably don't have as much of this, but ours, you know, we have a lot where, you know, they'll do like potluck where they'll bring food from home, and, you know, they'll have it set up, and you know, they really enjoy it. And it almost gets to be like a family type.
It's a community civic service involvement, and it's great. Well, I think it's great.
That's one of the pluses of being in a more rural area is you get a lot more of that. And yeah, and you know, people take care of each other, and I mean, I'm so thankful that we have that, because I mean, very rarely do we have any type of, you know, situations on election day where we have issues with anything, because we do have those people that, and it's like, you know, they take more ownership of it, because for a lot of them, I mean, you know, they've only lived in Marshall County, and I mean, there's a real sense of pride there with doing it, and with making sure it's done right. And you know, over the years, you know, we've had like the different civic groups, you know, get involved, and a lot of our poll workers are involved with the civic organizations here in the county, and
We have a lot of retired teachers.
we have a lot of, I've always said teachers make good poll workers too, because they're used to paperwork, you know, attention to detail, you know, I mean, that's always, so that's another that I've always said that. So,
That
yes,
would-
we
that
do
would
have a
be-
lot of
That would be
retirees.
one of the times that I would have 3 clocks set. I never slept a wink, because I was always afraid I was gonna oversleep.
Sure.
You know, you got the machines in your car,
Oh,
all
yeah.
lots of election. So they're all in there, you know, you gotta take it all in, and it's like, oh, never slept a wink. The longest day in your entire life.
Don't you miss that?
But I did it for 15 years. I
Right.
did my duties, so- and I
Absolutely.
can't work now, so.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But it gives you that appreciation
Yeah.
of the process even more so.
I think everybody should work in election.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Andrew,
Well,
for all
really
the information.
Thank you very much.
absolutely.
Any other questions?